All right, awesome. Well, welcome everybody. After a week off, the Perception Therapy Podcast is back, live and direct from Puerto Rico. Our special guest today is going to be, Rick, pronounce your last name for me. I apologize.
Yeah, Coteus. Coteus, and
Coteus.
and I can imagine that you'd have trouble with it. We're not very many of us on the planet right now.
Gotcha. This is Rick Coteus. He is the owner and founder of Blackfeet Lacrosse, and Blackfeet Lacrosse makes extremely quality shafts for your lacrosse stick. I love this shaft. I have loved it since December of 2014 when I purchased it directly from Rick in Broward, Florida. We were doing the Jingle Brawl tournament up there, and so for my pocket, which I had originally just strung a white leather pita pocket, I ended up purchasing these brown leathers from you that same day. And that very night, I went home and I switched them all out. Thanks to my brown shaft, I had brown leathers to match, and this has been my go-to grab stick. Since this purchase, I fell so much in love with my stick that my daughter and my wife, who also entertain lacrosse with me, I say that because the passion is not for everyone, but they entertain family values, and thanks to Rick, I was able to get them both ladies wooden shafts, which they currently love. And I also purchased another shaft for myself, a stingy guy that I am, for my other women's head that I use to coach with. So that's the last shaft that I purchased from you. All of them have the signature Blackfeet Lacrosse stamp. And if you are lucky and you're a good purchaser, you will also receive the what I use as a key fob. And I also, Rick, I got to tell you, this thing comes in so handy. When I'm in the river or at the beach. I throw my ring in there and I don't lose it.
Oh, wow. Hey.
I unloop it, loop it right through there, snag it right back real quick, and I don't have to worry about disappointing my wife with a lost wedding ring.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. We have a viewer already. Welcome, viewer. Hope you are entertained by our podcast today. So, Rick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have spent more years self-employed than not. Started this company in 2010. The passion was originated with my son, who couldn't get enough of lacrosse, and he came into the game in about 09, maybe 08 and a half. And at that time, his coach approached me, knowing that I was a woodworker of sorts, did remodeling and cabinet making. And he approached me and said, "Why don't you bake some wood sticks?" And he was carrying a wood stick. It was an old broken arrow, or crooked arrow or something. Broken arrow, I believe. And he had cut in half. It was a deep hole, and he had walked around with it. And a lot of kids were interested in it, and other players, and other parents and such. And I said, "Well, you have lacrosse sticks. You already have lacrosse sticks in lacrosse." He said, "Yeah, but they don't have wooden ones. These are cool." Well, I made a couple, and that went over pretty well. And I made another batch, and eventually I approached a store, and they were very curious, and they took it on. So, while wholesale orders haven't dominated my business by any means, they did take a look at it. There was a time when stores would stock it, and I learned a lot about the beginnings of lacrosse when I got in, and found that indeed wood sticks have trended back in and back out over the years. But what I decided was is that there was a whole long track to run on that hadn't been explored yet. And that's based on the idea that often wood is overlooked as a building material. We kind of went out of, it was an interesting research material and utilized intensely up until World War I, when we began to make airplanes out of aluminum. Prior to that, we were making them out of plywood. Wooden plywood. That's what we began to fight World War I with, and we concluded with aluminum as wings and body structure. And that was about the end of science's and engineering's interest in wood. But it didn't end there with me. So when we picked it up for lacrosse, I began to look into how we could match or do, in fact, better than the modern shaft, which would be carbon fiber or metal. With wood. Right. And currently we're boring the wood and driving the weight down. And whereas you would expect it to make a weaker shaft, in fact, it results as a stronger light shaft because it starts with a piece of wood that has superior strength. Uh, that's being because wood, when it uh, when it starts out heavy, heavy wood is stronger than light wood. So when you start with a heavy piece of wood, bore it out, you end up with a stronger shaft, stronger light wood. So anyway, I raised in along the way, I raised 3 children, and uh, they one of them plays lacrosse. One of them and the 2 others work in the business with me when they can, between school and all their other activities. But I've long enjoyed entrepreneurship, self-employment. I've been in and out of a number of businesses, real estate as well, and it's the American way. Commerce is the American way. We have a gap in our education system in which we really don't teach commerce to our children. And there's more of my brothers and sisters and in-laws that are self-employed than not. So we're kind of a family of entrepreneurs, and we love getting together and talking the real stuff about how to make commerce work. And it's very much fallen out of favor in America. 40% of the population is employed by the government. And when you go to school, you go to high school, and you go to a college in this country, they're taught to how to get a job. They're not taught how to be an entrepreneur. You're not taught how to engage commerce. And
I think a big part of that also stems from the fact that, at least when I was a child, it was always you work hard and then you get to your retirement age. That, as we well know, that's very quickly diminishing for all youths. I mean, my daughter, I very likely will never get to retire. So I think that spawns a lot of the government job seeking is, I can do my 20 here and get a retirement check.
Yeah, yeah. Or in the real world, you do 40 and get your Social Security. Ironically, the Social Security Act, when it was put in and retirement was 65, the death age for a man was 68.
Right.
It wasn't ever meant to actually function. One more of those reasons why Donald Trump is doing so well.
Yeah, among others.
Yeah.
Among others.
Yeah. So I don't know how much I don't know how much you want to know about me, but I'm a blue blood American. I feel very strongly about the country, very strongly about commerce, and very strongly about lacrosse, very strongly about the family. You want to understand the macro systems in America, just look at the family and see how well you put it in the family perspective. What would you do if the macro was actually a micro, just a family? How would you handle the situation? What would be right? What would be wrong? And that'll pretty much give you a guideline on how to do the macro. So, strong on family, strong on faith, strong on religion, strong on commerce. So, and I'm very glad you're a customer, Sal, and you like your product.
Oh, I love it, and until the day that I stop taking, I'm gonna keep pushing it, man. Everybody who sees me, they're like, "Man, where did you get that stick?" So, in case for those of you who are out there who are not familiar with lacrosse, this is what sticks typically sound like. I realize that you guys can't feel this, but picture your hand around the aluminum. There's no comfort there. There's no personalization. This doesn't belong in your hands. Whereas with these wooden sticks, there is, okay, so a big thing I used to do, there's no tapes on any of my sticks. This is just a shaft I have on this head. This is the temporary, I usually switch head back over this wooden shaft every now and then, but my old tapes, or my old sticks, I should say, were up to about here with tape grip. Because your hands, especially while you're in playing, your hands are drenched in sweat. So you're trying to maneuver, and for it may look like insignificance, but for every millimeter down the shaft, you either add or take away from a shot. With the wooden sticks, you don't get that resistance. The wood wants to be held, and your hand doesn't want to let it go, it feels. And I mean, I could be just, biased. I just love the feel of the stick. And you were absolutely 100% correct. The wooden stick trend goes up and down in lacrosse. Just same way the mesh trend goes up and down lacrosse. When I was in high school, it was unthought of to have a leather strung head. I have 3 sticks around me. All of my 3 sticks are all leathers. You know, it's a preference thing, and once you, I think that's the beauty of lacrosse more than anything, is that you get to represent yourself. You know, your pocket, your stick, the way you play your role on the game is a direct reflection of who you are. You know,
that's interesting, Sal. I do run across that a lot. You know, when I discuss this with players, and there's an ongoing discussion across the game as to why is it so equipment intensive. And I don't have all the answers, but certainly when, as you described it, when you put the wood stick on, that you bonded with it. So
Oh yeah.
whereas the most important part of the game is the pocket head combination, how the pocket is strung in relation to the
Yep.
head, so that it functions the way you complement to your performance. But the stick is, the weight just has to be relatively correct, and then you're okay by the physics, but by
Right.
the emotional bond that takes place, it happens not from the pocket but from the handle.
Yes, and it's a mental connection as well. Your hands feel comfortable there, and so the motion is fluid. There is no hesitation. And I mean, once you've practiced a long enough time with an aluminum shaft, you do get that automatic reaction to it. But I can tell you from years of experience, it takes so much longer to get that comfort with the aluminum sticks, whereas you pick up a wooden stick and it fits perfectly. You know, if your pocket is not strung out really crazy, you should have, you know, no problems. My wife and my daughter both love theirs. I'd love to show off some of these accents here that you have. So all the butt ends come more or less the same way with the Blackfeet Lacrosse stamp on them. As you can see here, the women's shaft, correct my wooden terminology term here for what the process is for thinning the shaft here.
Well, it's tapered down. It's reduced. It's a process in the shop, and so the body of a women's shaft is smaller in diameter,
Right.
and the point is to accommodate a smaller hand. But many of the girls do like full-size guide sticks.
Yeah, my wife actually prefers the guy size, so
Mhm.
you may see another order coming from me soon.
Okay. But
she really liked the guy size.
the other aspect on the physics side of the wood stick is that it takes the shock. It takes the stick shock, stick check, the shock generated by a stick check, far better than the other material. So girls especially have more ball control. Their pockets are so shallow, the stick check jars the ball loose. The guys are a little more difficult to get that ball out of the pocket, but they would benefit the
Right.
same way. Hmm. So,
Yeah,
but
definitely less. What I'm looking for is less fire sales on the field for sure.
yeah,
When you have someone hit the other, and I mean, for those of you who have never seen lacrosse, this stick is swung at full velocity at the other player's stick who's holding the ball. So right now I have an aluminum Allen key holding my ball in place to create my pocket so that it stays formed. But if I take that out, you'll see that the ball will move freely within the pocket. Now, when somebody's coming down the field, what they're trying to do is knock your ball loose by clanging your stick. Now, because this is wood on aluminum, you don't get the same effect, but aluminum on aluminum, your hands will reverberate in with the stick in your hand, and chances are your hand will let go, and you'll have what's called a fire sale, which is your stick will hit the field. I have yet to experience that with my wooden stick. I have coached 2 high schools and 2 club teams in South Florida with them. I am currently in the process with 2 gentlemen from the United States who will hopefully be joining us soon in the process of forming a Puerto Rico lacrosse team. We are trying for a federal international league team here. So that's one of the things we're working on here. But as far as that connection with the stick, it's unlike anything in the aluminum offerings. That's for sure.
so have you coached boys as well, Sal, or girls is your focus?
No, girls was my focus for high school for the last 2 years. I was the head coach at Palmer Trinity, and that's in South Florida. It's a private school. I enjoyed myself a lot there. My first year we went district runner-ups, and the second year we went back and took our district. So, it felt really good to accomplish that. I had an incredible team of young ladies with me. My goalie and one of my captains will be joining us hopefully Sunday on the podcast. And they're going to share their perception experiences with leaving high school, going to college. The podcast has many avenues, many directions, and we're going to explore all of them, until we find something that everyone enjoys. I got to say there's something for everyone in this. But, lacrosse is one of those sports that it's very character building. I played football as a young man. I played tackle football, flag football. I played soccer. I played hockey as well. And when I found lacrosse, it was almost like the IQ and the person coming together.
Mm-hmm.
In all the other sports I played, I was very athletic. I'm good at sprinting, but not good at marathon running. I don't have the endurance. So those were hindering to me playing soccer and whatnot. Playing hockey, it was very different because there's no running involved. It's all power skating, and for some reason my body's just able to do so. And I just had natural talent in hockey. But that talent in hockey didn't allow me to focus on the IQ of the game. So when I speak about that, is my knowledge of the game of hockey is not as strong as it would be in lacrosse, whereas I can compete with someone at a higher level of lacrosse than I would be able to at hockey.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
Mainly because I understand the game better. I understand what needs to happen a lot better than I did in hockey, even though I'm much better at it now in my 30s. But the idea and the concept, that knowing what I need to have done, knowing what I need to do next, and knowing how to accomplish the end goal in lacrosse was very cerebral. Mainly because you have if you're playing boys lacrosse, you're fielding 9 players and a goalie. There's a lot of communication that needs to happen between all those 9 players in order to be successful. If you're playing ladies lacrosse, female lacrosse, women's lacrosse, whatever you want to call it, you're playing 11 field players. So that in itself is more communication that needs to happen, more understanding of what your role is as a team member. And in that sense, as a player, it was one thing to see myself grow. As the coach, it's been a completely different other to see young children. I mean, I coached 2 club teams. Young children from the ages of 6 up, they come to the game and they're attracted to it. And it's I don't know what it is about the sport, but it calls out to people, and I can't wait to see that happen here. It's a motivation that I haven't given up on. I'm sorry, I'm speaking as if I've been at this a long time. I just moved here in August, so we actually haven't been off the ground yet. We have a couple of free clinics coming up in April when my partners come down from New York. So this is for us. We don't expect anything to happen next week or next month. This is one of those times where you've got to walk through the snow, and it's going to be a challenge, and you got to get there. That's all there is. It's either that or you die in the snow. You got 2 choices.
Yeah, that's commerce. That's commerce.
Yeah,
but we've had. Hopefully, we'll come up with something to assist you along those lines. We've had requests from coaches, and the requests have caused us to launch an area of products that we call incentivized for athletes, incentivized items. And what they are is products that you are awarded for giving a certain amount of training that you put yourself through. So wall ball is one of those things that every coach would love their players to do on a regular basis, put in the hours of, for your listeners that don't play lacrosse, you're basically playing catch with the wall. You're throwing the ball against the wall and it comes back. And it comes back with a quickness and a velocity, but that's difficult to master. But it's also just another touch. It's a throw and a catch. It's a touch. And so we have this idea that 300 touches a session will result, and you'll be, even if you're not such a great athlete, you'll play in high school. Your coach won't be able to cut you if you put in the hours. So to get the players to put in those hours, they award them with a product. They award them with a gift, and in some cases, it's been our butt end. that you have on the end of your wood shaft that's supplied solid. Yeah, and they're going to miniature version on your keychain. But
Yeah.
also for those who insist on using the metal shaft, no problem by us. We have a
Sure.
wood butt end that inserts into the hollow of the
I
shaft, as
actually,
opposed to.
I actually saw you sell one of those to a young lady that was there at the tournament.
There you go. Yeah.
Do you get those
Uh,
kind of requests a lot?
our request as of late is to have not my logo with the double feet, the Blackfeet, but their team,
Mhm.
their club logo burned on,
Of course.
and
Yeah.
and that's really cool. And I didn't know how it would go, but what they're telling me is that the players really respond well to it. They love them, and they work hard to get them. The other thing that we offer by request, because coaches have asked for it, is the mini stick done in a color configuration that matches their club or their school, and it's an Iron
Oh,
Man
very nice.
award. So whoever's the Iron Man gets the mini stick. It's a higher priced item than the butt end, uh, but there's not a setup charge involved. You know that you have the color you want, so you can choose the handle color. In some cases, the butt end color, as you did, you wanted the dark butt end on the dark stick, which was not a standard thing. And the leathers, the strings can all be configured to match their personalized. And again, it's all about personalization in lacrosse.
Yep.
So that's something that we'll be launching in a more public way in our brochure and such, and from the website. And and it's funny how, I don't know. Remember when I was a kid, I just couldn't wait to get my first uniform on. And kids like uniforms. They like stuff. They
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. So they like their equipment. They like personalizing it. We engrave the sticks at tournaments and through the sales through the website, and a more personalization. So yeah, young kids, we all want to be good at what we do. If we're
Yes.
good at it, we enjoy it. And
Right.
uh, there's going to come a time when we say, well, sure, I'm good, and I did enjoy it, but I don't anymore. But while they're young, if you can get them to train up properly to a certain degree beyond what they're currently training, they will enjoy the benefits of that. But how do you get them to do it? How do you get a baseball player to swing a bat 100 times? You know, you really need. How do you get a kid to play wall ball in lacrosse? You need something to incentivize that. Unless they're simply self-disciplined, and that's just 1 in 10 or 20. So we're
Sure.
excited about it. We think it'll be a fun thing. So I thought I'd
That
throw
sounds
that
like a
out
good
there.
idea. I'm going to definitely reach out to you once we get our program up and lifted, because I think that would be an extremely positive incentive example. And going back to what you were talking about on the hours of practice, you are 1,000% correct. There's in other sports, in jiu-jitsu, they call it 10,000 hours.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
practice something for 10,000 hours,
They say that's
you
where the Beatles got so good. They played in clubs endlessly, and so they had it down. They knew music inside and out.
right.
So
And with that
yeah,
practice comes the reaction of the crowd. And once
ah,
you learn how to master the reaction that you're already going to get, well, then
interesting.
you can orchestrate the rest of the emotions throughout the concert, such in the cases of the Beatles.
Yeah,
Whereas, in lacrosse standards, what I always try to teach my players was the reason we do these things: wall ball, ground ball drills, cradling drills. I used to have kids just standing there cradling, and then I would put 4 kids around them with sticks. Don't you move your feet. The only way you move is circling. And these 4 guys they can knock the ball out of your stick, but you can't move your feet. You can only turn in circles.
good,
And so
excellent.
cradling without moving your feet becomes natural. And then when they get jammed up in a 2-on-1 situation, they're already, okay, I don't have to move my feet. I can move my stick to this side of my body and let go of the ball into a positive direction. Once they come into those comforts, they become a coach's asset. And it's another thing I always told my players. It's like, listen, talent will get you far, guys, but without the hard work to refine the talent, you're going to be riding pine with me. You
Yeah,
can snipe it from 50 yards, that's great, but if you can't run the teamwork that I need you to run in the attack zone, you don't belong there.
yep, yeah. And
So
it's a
was
calling. It's
it's
a
the
wonderful
culture.
calling to bring players up to their ability and beyond. It's a great life experience.
Yes.
Lacrosse may not make a money in the world, but it's going to, if properly coached and if they respond, they will have life lessons and life accumulation of experience that will carry them, and they never lose it. It's theirs. They own it. So
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. We had my first year with the girls at the high school. I had the same goalie for both years. Um, the first year she was great, but she was still coming up. Um, Through working with her, and for her it was not the skill. For her, she would fluster herself and she would be thrown out of her game, as I'm sure you've seen that happen many times.
Hmm.
So with her, it was a mental focus situation. It was, okay, listen, especially the first year, we had some very tough games that first year. She would start to get frustrated if she saw repetitive, if she had a goal scored on her and then immediately another one scored, I could count on her being down herself for the next several shots. Once we overcame that, in the between our seasons, I kept working on her with, you're a goalie, so you're going to face thousands of shots in life. Thousands of shots in life. Not one shot matters more than the others. You face each shot as they come. And her second season was outstanding. We only lost 2 games. Both of those games were to out-of-district competition. She carried the team in both of those games, and we still lost by a very small margin. At the end of the season, that was probably the hardest goodbye I had to say was to my goalie. If I'm sure your son can agree who plays. The goalie is probably the most coveted position on the field, both in lacrosse and hockey. This player is always treated as one of 2 things. They are either the leader or they are the infant that everyone needs to care for.
Hmm.
They become the ultra sensitive or they're the ultra leader. I haven't found a goalie in between. And I've always jokingly and very lovingly said every one of my goalies needs to be just a half bit crazy. Because if you're going to be getting shot at that many times a game, you get a little bit of mental instability there.
Yeah.
So, that focus part was a big part for her. Hopefully she has continued to listen to that advice in her college days. Hopefully Sunday we will find out. But it's a game of evolution, and it's not only evolving the sport itself, but the individual. Especially if you're willing to put in. Going on. Oh, we still live? Yep, we are still live. Sorry about that. Yeah, so if you have the discipline to put in the 10,000 hours, the 300 passes or shots per practice, if you have the discipline to do all these things, once you leave school, once you leave lacrosse, whether it be for whatever branch of endeavors you go out to pursue in life, if you take that same discipline with you, there's not many things that are going to get in your way of accomplishing your goals. And I think that's
kind of a permanent.
Sorry, we've got a helicopter flying up above. Sorry about that.
I was going to say that it's a quality of perception that you developed and owned. And while other aspects of perception will come and go, that one's kind of locked in because you experienced it, you lived it, you earned it. So, yeah, that's where athletics can really benefit an individual.
Yep, absolutely. It's all in what you're willing to put into it, and if you're willing to put in the work, the reward is it's amazing. I mean, I started out. I played 2 years in high school. The first year, my high school did not offer lacrosse. My sophomore year, we begged our criminal justice teacher, who was from Pennsylvania, who had played lacrosse in high school, to help us out, get our program started, just to coach us the first year. He coached us both years then, and then my senior year I ended up getting transferred to another school because discipline issues. So my senior year I wasn't able to play either, and I tell you that more than everything else, the stupidities of prom at your original high school with all your friends, none of that mattered to me. But not being able to play was the dagger in the heart. It was, to have to listen to. I was still friends with my teammates, so to have to hear their talk about their war stories in the game was like, damn, I missed out on a lot of good stuff.
Sure.
And when I got offered to be a coach, it was that was one of the main principles I took into it. Learn from my mistakes, accept the perception change that I had come through coming out of high school, growing up into the military, coming out of the military, being an adult, having a family, using all of that perception change to say, you know what, the importance here is not the actual lacrosse that I'm teaching these kids. The importance here is the lessons about lacrosse that I'm teaching these kids that also apply to the rest of their lives. And that I took in a very high esteem, and that was my number one mission going in. And I'm very proud that several of my players made it into the college realm. Not all of them played lacrosse, which is perfectly fine with me. I never set a standard of anybody playing pros when I coached. It was always make it to the next level. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily lacrosse, just keep going to the next level. College is a great next level. Right. I actually never went to college. I never even took my SATs. That's how sure I wasn't going to college. I went straight out of high school, straight to 4 years in the Air Force, and then, came out and started life from there, started from scratch. The difficulties that have had to have been overcome since then could have been very much minimalized had I focused when I should have and done the correct things at the time that they were correct, and moved it in that regards. So that that just reinvigorated that want to get kids. Listen, lacrosse is not everything. All right, lacrosse is a very small fraction of life, but if you can excel at excelling in lacrosse, then the rest of your life is pretty, I won't say easy, but it's less challenging. If you look at everything as a challenge instead of a problem, if you look at it as an obstacle instead of a turmoil, you're going to come out much better for it. You're much better prepared there.
My son likes to say, I play to improve.
Yes.
That's his objective. The winning is great, scoring goals is great. He's an attackman, but he plays to improve. And absolutely. I think that's what you play the game of life to improve.
Yes.
You want to improve.
Absolutely.
We all think that we'd like the easy road. We like life to be easier, but I think the truth is we would work just as hard at any level of success because we're driven to improve, and we're driven to get the response that we desire from our efforts. And success. Well, I love the definition of success. A person who's engaged in a worthwhile objective, in pursuit of a worthwhile objective. It's not a quantitative measurement. It's, are you in pursuit of a worthwhile objective? Then you are living a successful life. You're a success. Period. There was a beautiful quote from a movie I watched the other night. Can't tell you the name of the movie, but the elderly Englishman was visiting his son in America, who was in pursuit of success, and he had found it, but he was unhappy. So was unhappy, he's unsettled, and the father said, "Be not a successful man, be a man of value." And in America, we possibly in the West, I don't know generally, but we teach success as if it's an end all. That you'll know you got there because you'll have the money, you'll have these assets, you'll have these cars and such, and the accoutrements of wealth. But in fact, it's a false message. What we need to do is teach values. We need to be value driven. So again, back to perception, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
And of course, as you trained up your goalie, you were looking for her to change her perception. Focus on the goal, on the next goal, focus on that strictly as opposed to the history of what had occurred. Three goals were scored, whatever. Now we're focused on the fourth goal. All your concentration, all your energies, all your enthusiasm is on that next shot. don't waste it on what has already happened.
Absolutely.
So,
And my favorites, one of the big drills that we would do is, natural warm up, your coach and your goalie, light shots at first, targeted, I'm going down to your right foot, I'm going up to your right, going up to your left, going middle to your left, directional is how she used to have her training. And so when she expected the shot, it was fluid, she knew exactly where it was going, she knew exactly where she needed to be. So the first thing, I think maybe 2 games into our first season, it was like, okay, you're too comfortable in your warm-up. You're expecting things, and so they happen. In the game, they're not going to tell you where they're shooting at. They're shooting from space. So we changed that direction of, okay, I'm not telling you where it's going. Now it's just coming. I'm not going to wait for you to be ready. It's just going to go, because your opponent is not going to wait for you to be set, with your feet ready, knees bent in the correct position with your hands up and your hands in the right location. No, they're not waiting for any of that. They're waiting for the opposite. They're waiting for your hand to slip and you to look away, and they're going to rip a shot at you. So it became, and I got a lot of slack from this actually from a couple of the parents, but they saw it as a very drill instructor way to train her. It was, man, you're very hard on her, and it was this and that, and I got a lot of criticism for it. I was the first male coach of that team. I was a young coach, which was very controversial at the private school that I was at. A lot of comments from some of the mothers and from the other students who listened to their parents a little too much. And the beauty of it was that I had my wife there with me as my assistant coach. So, if you want to make criticisms, my best criticizer is right here with me. You can join her up, and you guys can all talk about the improvements I need to make, and I'll just keep making the ones I see fit. But we took that very aggressive mentality with her. It was, okay, you're ready now? And I would zing them. I was shooting full speed. And I'll tell you, when the next game after that, she was playing high school girls, their shot speed compared to mine, it was, it was cakewalk for her at that point. And well into, the start of our second season, it was almost like shots didn't bother her. She could get hit without patting, and it was no big deal. Next shot, where is it? And that's the mentality she went in with. And, hopefully she's learned how to manipulate that, because it never stays the same. Perception shifts, priority shifts, and you need to shift with it. It's part of life, the change of life. Hopefully she has taken those lessons and been able to apply them to new lessons in her own life, and that's something else we'll talk about Sunday, but that's, it's all part of that growth, that never-ending growth that we involve into as infants. It never stops after that. Not until
it seems that every coach story that goes to Hollywood and we see a movie of it is a similar transgression or similar progression where the coach is in favor and out of favor. Gets a little bit too gets very focused and tough, and creates controversy. But of course, it generally has a happy ending.
Yeah,
so.
That was just, that was a method of training that we used. Overall, my demeanor with the team was always very positive. The message was always very positive. Win, lose, or draw, positive. There's been countless books written on it, on the laws of positivity, the laws of attraction. Look, The Secret was written. If you wish it, it will come to you. There's a lot of starving children in Africa right now who wishing food is not helping them. Yeah. Thinking positive about their next meal is not helping them. Right. So yes, I do agree that negativity doesn't help. Positivity helps more than negativity does. But realism in your positivity needs to be the focus. There needs to be a reality check within that positivity. And from that, you can make a lot of great steps. Because you're not in the solution.
I had a partner once who said, you may never compare yourself to another person.
Ever.
Not successfully. And I think part of that is because we each have a unique astrological
Hmm.
and karmic makeup, karmic history. So some things will happen to you that don't seem to have a connection to the present. You can be very positive and have negative things happen, and that's it possibly because of you've been, you have a history.
Right.
You have a particular astrology. Uh, the stars align certain ways. Opportunities open, doors close, and you may wait a long time for your opportunity, and that's all individual. It's all very individual. So yeah, such like The Secret seems to wish you to come into the idea that you're in control
Yeah.
of all these circumstances. You're in control of your free will,
That's it.
but
That's it.
you're bumping into a whole lot of other free wills out there. So um, over time, a positive attitude is a wonderful thing. Yes, it always is, especially if things are going badly. That's
Yes.
all the more time to have a great attitude. Live up, own up, a man up and take it.
Yeah.
But you have to have. There's a wonderful line from a Disney production called Anne of Green Gables. You've seen any of that? It's kind of a wonderful thing to show our children. There's some wonderful messages in there. Unlike what Disney generally serves up, this is a really good series. And
Right.
in it, the Anne is a orphan, and she's taken in by her aunt and uncle. And she's a precocious little girl, and she's got all kinds of negativity that she likes to expound upon, although she's very bright. And her aunt tells her, to despair is to, um, what's the quote? To despair is to deny God. To despair is to deny God. In other words, what is so bad that you think
Right.
God's not in control of? When did you think God, turned his back on you or just looked the other way and now the universe spun out of control? Are you serious? If this is correct,
Yeah.
it's happening, it's correct, and God's not mocked and he's not fooled. Um, this is what you need to experience.
Yep.
This is what's coming down. Now, what are you going to do about it? That's the question. So yeah,
Yeah.
it we can talk about these life lessons and such. We can talk about perception of that, but you really have to own it. You have to live it and put it on, and that's what makes a full life. It's a full
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But
There's an MMA fighter. I'm not sure if you're into MMA. His name is Frank Mir, and he's got a great quote that says, "You know what the definition of hell is? It's when you die and you get to meet the person you could have been."
ah,
And that's a rough one, man. Some people
yeah,
wait till that long to make the change.
yeah.
It's unfortunate.
You've probably seen the film Coach Carter.
I have, yeah, with Samuel L. Jackson. I loved it. Great
Do you
movie.
do you recall? There's a segment in the movie where he's asking a player, Cruz, by the way. I've just seen it recently, so it's on my mind. He asks him, what do you fear? What do you fear? And
Right.
there's going to be more to it because then the movie director has two of the players ask each other, hey, what's he talking about? He keeps asking Cruz, what does he fear? What do you fear? And later Cruz recites a passage. I'm not sure. I think it's anonymous. And he answers the question that, that's the point that's Coach Carter's message is it's about, well, the first line is, we do not fear inadequacy. We do not fear that we are inadequate or that we might be inadequate. What we fear is that we might be all powerful. And then he goes on to say, you're basically, especially an adolescent, uh, coming of age, they dumb themselves down so they fit in. And he said, you can't help anybody by dumbing yourself down. You need to let it shine. You need to let it
Yes.
out. And so, yeah, the greatest fear would be to come to the conclusion and find out what could have been, what you could have done. So anyway, that Coach Carter, if you Google Coach Carter, what do you fear, it comes right up for anybody who wants to take a look at the full passage. It's very insightful.
Absolutely. It's that was a really good movie. Also,
Yeah.
just on the premise of coaching. That was I don't know if Samuel L. Jackson's ever been a coach, but I think he could definitely pull it off after watching his performance in that.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but that struggle is very real when it comes to shaping or even just adjusting the mindset of a teenager, of an adolescent. I'm I will speak only for myself on this one. When I was that age, I thought I knew everything I needed to know up until that point. I thought I was squared away, and I wasn't going to learn much more after that. And obviously, life will kick you right in the teeth if you think. Life has a lot of lessons for you, and you're never too old to learn any of them.
Well, when my son was going through that age, I noticed that he was pulling back, and he wasn't scoring as aggressively. And I said, "You're playing." So he'd ask me, "How do you think I did?" I said, "Well, you did as well as you allowed yourself to do. You're socially conscious now. You're concerned about how you're looking, how you appear to your other players
right.
and coach." I said, "It's a waste of time. You're wasting your energies and your time with that." But he wasn't quite able to come away from that. And later you pick it up again. You say, "Oh, the heck with everybody else. I'm going to go do what I got to do."
Yeah.
But definitely went through that period of holding back so that he was looked acceptable in what he thought socially was necessary.
That's a huge perception shift for any adolescent going into adulthood, is letting go of what everybody else thinks of you.
Yeah.
That's a really big one, and especially I actually had to walk back through that fire as an adult because I was coaching high school girls in my late 20s, and then even when I was coaching the club teams, it was boys and girls from the ages 6 to 18, and I judged the parents more for just leaving the kid to practice and driving away. Nothing ever occurred because nothing ever should have occurred. Everything was lacrosse always. But it wasn't only me. It was my wife out there. I had two partners. We never ran into any situations except for maybe one kid that ended up with a bloody nose. We have helmets for a reason, buddy. And then it was one of those things where it was like, there was a lot of expectations, and I think I paid way too much attention to them. And that's what I mean by I walked back through that fire of caring what people were thinking of me. My first time stepping onto the private school campus. I've been a public school child my whole life. I went to first grade in private school in Queens, New York, and I was kicked out in my first week for telling the nun to as a 6-year-old, I told her to orally pleasure myself. My daughter will listen to this podcast later, and we'll have to have that conversation as to what that means. But for those of you out there who know very well what it means, at 6 to 7 years old, those aren't connections you should be making at school with your teachers. So, needless to say, that discipline issue was resolved very quickly by my expulsion. So, back to my point was that I've been a public school kid my whole life. I don't come from privilege. I come from scraping by and working hard to get what little we have. So that was instilled in me very young. But I don't know why that bugged me so much going back onto that campus. I very distinctly remember having that feeling of, I would get looks from other coaches. And it was like, well, without saying a word and without trying to give any physical imprint of it, was like, what do you think? You're better than me? Why do you think you belong here more than I? And nobody had said anything to me. These were all perceptions in my mind, maybe I don't belong here, maybe I shouldn't be here, maybe I haven't want to be a head coach. And, a mile an hour thoughts go through your head. And when you give into that, it becomes very not only demoralizing, but it's very counterintuitive. Counterproductive. You're going into the perception of people instead of the task at hand.
Yeah, I think that people are they impulsively can give a look of that could be read as a prejudice, could be read one way, but what's actually possibly going on more often than not is they're processing. They're not conclusive, and they're processing instinctive reactions. And we are racially impulsive as a survival mechanism, and you don't get to regulate that. You don't get to regulate survival mechanisms. But as a cultured people, we get a second shot at it, and we get to actually act out what we really feel, as opposed to what initially happens when we meet someone or see someone. So we have to give ourselves, each other, the benefit of the doubt that there's a primeval thing going on, and then there's also a man or a woman thinking culturally, so yeah, you can't jump to conclusions when someone gives you a look. That look
Right.
might not have been intentional. We can't control all of our looks. In other words, some things just come out, but
Right.
that's not where our hearts are necessarily. It may be that that's where the what's it called, the reptilian side of us coming out initially, and then culturally. So that
Yeah,
might have been some of
absolutely.
what you, yeah. And
The most
I
primary part of it
so
is, I think, what you're describing there. Yeah, absolutely. That
this has been a this has been a great
Sorry, go ahead.
conversation, and I'm glad to finally meet you. After being a customer and talking on through email exclusively.
Yeah. Well, we met the
Uh,
one time at in Broward at the Jingle Brawl,
yes,
and that was the one time where I met you there. I want to show your website here for those who can see it, for those who are watching live, and for those who will catch up with us later. This is the Blackfeet Lacrosse website. You can contact and get any of his products. You'll see a wide assortment of them. I think I love this parents page here, this message that you wrote. I think it's incredibly important, and I hope all the parents that visit this website read this. Um, it's a good starting point for parents who are just coming into lacrosse. And you also do some mini stick strings. I won't lie to you, I copied your pocket design on a
all good.
different stick,
Mm-hmm.
on a different stick that I had, and I actually ended up removing it. The head that I had it in was just too wide for anything for that kind of pocket to work. But I did use it in another pocket and loved it for a little while there. It was really great. Really, really great. So, people, I will have the Blackfeet Lacrosse website up in the description of this video for those of you who will catch up with it after. Rick, I just want to say thank you very much for joining us today. Sir, I wish you nothing but the best in the future. We will absolutely be reaching out to you once we are established here as a team in Puerto Rico. And as soon as those incentives can come in, as soon as a team stick order can be made, I know my first reach out is going to be to you. I look for quality. It's what I push for, and it's definitely what I found here. And it's one of the reasons I want to promote you today and have this conversation, let people get to know who you are. I don't have a huge following. Hopefully someday I will, and this will make a bigger impact than it will currently make. The beauty of it is it'll stay on YouTube, and someone else can watch it at a later point in time. And hopefully we'll be able to drive some traffic in your direction, sir. And hopefully we'll get these wood sticks out into other people's hands. There are other competitors out there, people. They come with differences. One of the things I can tell you is some of the others I have seen will crack in the middle. I have had, not this one, but I have had this one since 2014, December. I have played with 3 different squads of high school boys, and I think the worst that I have on here are a couple of scratches, and it's mostly just discoloration from where my hands are constantly sliding down grooves. But as you can see, only the sharpest edge is toned down. The rest of it is perfectly intact. A couple nicks and scratches there. A couple times it's hit the concrete, just me doing stick tricks. But this is it's my go-to, and I feel very connected to my stick. So thank you, sir, for providing that comfort and that connection, and for sticking to it, really, man. For what it sounded like, there was a couple of years there that I may not have been able to get your product, and I'm really glad you pushed through that time, and that you didn't let that keep you down. So many people do these days, and like we said, people, it's either you keep on walking or you die in the snow.
Yeah.
Those are your two options. No time to wait around for spring.
Well, thank you, Sal. Really appreciate you having me, and I like what you do. I really appreciate that you're a coach. A special walk in life is a real calling. So
Thank you.
Keep it up, and yeah, let's stay in touch. Let's stay in touch.
Absolutely.
I hope you'll certainly increase your following. You got a great message. So
I hope so, and I hope as a byproduct of that, we also increase some attention on your site as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
so I look forward to that.
A nice, a good tide will rise all the boats. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sir, enjoy your tide, and
thank you.
I will catch you on another podcast, hopefully.
Awesome. I'll tune out. Thank you, Sal.
Enjoy. Take care, Rick. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That's our, what's today? Is it Tuesday? It is Tuesday, March 1st, 2016. This was Rick Coteus joining us from Illinois. He is the founder of Blackfeet Lacrosse. Check out his website, his products, quality information there. He also does team orders, so jump on that if you have the opportunity, and definitely get to it before I order my next stick and start our Puerto Rico lacrosse so we can order our team sticks, because we're going to keep Rick plenty busy, hopefully. That's it for today, folks. Join us Thursday. We will have Tanya Losada Brennan joining us. She was my stepmother. I don't have any concrete dates, time frames, anything like that. I was very young, and we will have that conversation Thursday. I am very much looking forward to it. We will hopefully have Chaz Woodson from the Major League Lacrosse. He is a coach also at Ransom Everglades, joining us hopefully either this week or next week. We have not solidified our plans yet, but please keep an eye out for us. The podcast will continue. We did take a week break last week, but that was just to gather our marbles, get our guest list squared away, and just figuring out different ways to enjoy these exchanges that I'm having with people. Hopefully, we don't try to stay to one topic per podcast. I like to switch the topics in the middle of the podcast as well as from podcast to podcast. So, the topics will always be different, but the overall message will always stay the same. It's all about perception. It's about changing the way you think about things so that you can get to where you need to go, accomplish what you need to accomplish, and meet those goals that satisfy our primal instincts of accomplishment. So until next time, people, either enjoy what you're doing or change what you think about it. It's not how it says. If you're in a rut, either change what you're doing or change the way you think about it. Be well. Take care of each other. See you next time.